right here. So my first question is, what do you think it was that drove you to a life of crime, or even to the point to where you made the decision to commit a crime at the time that you committed the crime that you ended up doing time for? Because everybody's background and circumstances was different. So just in a nutshell, if you could say that.
Would you like just anyone to answer that?
Yeah. You could go ahead, brother.
Okay. What drove me, obviously, is my socioeconomic conditions. I mean, most people that are involved in crime. I mean, when I got involved in crime, I mean, a lot of times younger people now, they're influenced uh, because of other things, peer pressure and things like that. But when I got involved in, criminal activity, which was many years ago, by the way, I did 20 years in the federal system. And unfortunately, that wasn't my first rodeo. Um, but my involvement solely was based upon my socioeconomic condition. I could not afford, I'm from New York, I could not afford the things that I saw, wanted. And therefore, at first I worked, I packed bags, I did all those things. I used to shovel snow when I was 10 years old. So I was clearly a hustler. Um, and then I went from that, even having jobs, but criminal activity. But I was solely motivated uh, because of the money, trying to acquire some money and buy some things that I wanted to buy, things that um, my parents couldn't afford to purchase.
Hmm. Now let me tell you that.
Okay.
Is it my turn now?
Yeah. You could go ahead. Once I ask the questions, like we can just, you know what I mean, raise hands and just respect. Once the first person stop, boom, it's on whoever else want to answer that particular question. So the floor is yours, bro.
All right, I'm gonna be a yard across the board.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, my father retired military. I mean, I grew up in Baltimore. You know what I mean? I left there. I went through the civil. I went through the, the. I ain't gonna say the average, but being up there, I went through the witnessing of my mom being abused. Me fighting up boyfriends at 8 years old, 7 years old, trying to, you know what I mean, stop that nonsense going on in the household. But with me and my story, I ain't gonna sit here and hold you on none of that. I supposed to have been a pro baseball player. I mean, I was good enough to where I could have came out of high school, and I ain't gonna sit here in front of you. I came from good crop, but I ended up going to something, and my mom told me, and I'm gonna tell you this true story. My mom told me, she said, I got your sister. I'm not gonna be able to do this and that for you, you know what I mean? But I can give you a roof over your head. So me, used to all these, the finer things that I was being blessed with as a child, and you talking about 14 years old. You feel me? So that's when I got introduced to the streets. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not going to say that I regret anything that I've been through because it made me who I am right now today. You know what I mean? I have been through the negativity. I've turned my negative experiences into positivity to where I am 100% legal. You talking about a 9-time? I'm talking about, I think I got like 8 felonies, um, expunged, and like 8 felonies pardoned and like 3 expunged to where I got a concealed weapons permit right now today to where I got a legal firearm. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know how to give up. I don't know how to sit back and say that I can't, prevail. I just don't, I don't accept that. You know what I mean? I mean, you're never going to know unless you try. And with the grace of God, I mean, I'm a over the road truck driver. My truck will be paid for in March of this year coming up, 2025. I got a clothing line. You know what I mean? I mean, my children grown. I supported my children all their lives. I don't have no issues with none of my children, moms, or none of that aspect. But you just got to keep going, yo.
Yeah, that's real. That's real, bro.
I'm
Yep,
gonna go
I
ahead.
feel
I'm
that.
gonna go.
One more person, yeah, one more person to answer this particular question, and then we'll go to the next one, unless somebody else really, got it on their heart and want to answer it. Go ahead, Derek. The floor is yours.
I'm gonna go ahead and chime in, Corey.
All right.
I'll say my story is similar to some of the other ones. I come from a good family, mom and dad in the house, but growing up here in Sumter, and going once I graduated high school, and actually went to college, started a work study at USC, but was only making $4.25 an hour, maybe about 25 hours a week. But then I also had cousins here locally that was hustling, that was selling dope. And I actually sat one day after college and seen one of my cousins make $500 in 3 hours. But I'm making $4.25 an hour back in the 90s at a work study while I'm in college. So it wasn't hard to understand that after I paid attention to what was going on, I thought I had all the sense. Had high school diploma. I thought I was smarter than the streets per se. And so anyway, I started selling dope. But the thing that they don't tell you is all the informants, secret indictments, and everything else to go along with being out in the street hustling. So, I ended up only doing 3 years in SCDC. But if I went back again, they told me I was going to get 15 years violent. So, by the grace of God, I was able to only get 3 years. But by the time I started getting in trouble, I ended up with 13 felonies and 55 misdemeanors before I was able to get my pardon. But I'm kind of like my man that just spoke. I went through the process of getting my record pardoned and expunged. I have a CWP as well. And I also work for the state of South Carolina as a instructor at Central Carolina Technical College. So, you can turn it around if you want to, but you just got to be dedicated.
And on that note, yo, I salute you. You feel me?
Same to you, brother. Got to use the same system that they use to get us under these different indictments and felonies. You got to use that pardon and expungement process instead of sitting back on the pity party and the do nothing wagon and crying about you got a criminal record.
Right? And you can't give up though. That's the main thing. Like, you know what I mean? You got to go through the storm to see the sunshine. You feel me?
Facts.
Yeah, that's definitely the mindset, yo. Because in coming out, I'm gonna get to this next question too, but that's a very important mindset and thing to say because like I came home after doing 10 years and got frustrated 12 months, 13 months later after being released back against the wall and end up going back because the mindset, like going back
Yo,
to what I knew instead of just staying focused and knowing that I gotta go through this storm to see the sunshine. Like I
Mm-hmm.
might not see it right now, I might not be getting the benefits that I want to get right now, but I have to stay focused and keep moving forward. And a lot of times that's the hardest thing to do when we facing a lot of turmoil in life and we got kids depending on us, we got a lady depending on us, things of that nature, man. But that's the importance of doing this type of podcast to let brothers know, like, yo, this shit ain't gonna be easy
Hell
coming back
no.
out here and doing it, but it's definitely possible, and
yo,
we can.
Brad.
So, yes, sir, yes, sir. Next, go ahead,
Yeah,
see.
let me chime in on that. Like I kind of agree with my man as far as family situations. Like my background is totally different too from my homeboys growing up because I had a mother and a father, but they was divorced. My thing was the lack of a father figure. My father was more like an uncle or a homeboy instead of a father. So when he found out I was smoking weed at the age of 11 or 12, instead of him scolding me, he was more, oh man, here a couple of dollars, man, get you something to eat, man, walk that off. It wasn't nobody telling me, nah, don't do this or that. So just that lack of a father figure, then hanging around with the thugs, you know what I'm saying, the dudes I went to school with, it's like that's how I got caught up in the hustling and the weed and all of that was recreational. It was for fun. It was like a hobby until we got older and it turned into an occupation. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of these guys, man, that's in the street running around, shooting up stuff, whatever, like I relate to them because I was toting at the age of 11, turning 12. You know what I'm saying? I'm 45 years old, so you do the math. You know what I'm saying? Early 90s, we've been rolling like that. And been
Mm-hmm.
getting in shootouts with older guys that's 28, 30, like robbing grown men. But
Mm-hmm.
when you lost in that, I hate to say it because I'm an artist myself, I rap. But that rap music brainwashing a lot of dudes because it's encouraging them to want to experience that lifestyle. Then after they experience, it's kind of like, wow, like this ain't for me. And I also agree with my man when he said he don't regret nothing because it made him who he is today. I mean, I 100% agree. I got locked up on grenade and machine gun charges. I was facing 30 to life,
Mm-hmm.
mandatory minimum.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
I
I
can relate.
still made it out of that situation without telling or snitching. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And not trying to just be on some real street stuff, but just I'm gonna call it keeping my honor and my dignity.
You own what you went through.
Absolutely.
Yes, and not bring down another black man. Instead, I was calling my homeboy, telling them get out. Yo, these people are on people and blah blah blah. You know, so it's like I went through that, fought for 2 years. My grandmother and them put forth, you know what I'm saying, the money to get a lawyer. Ended up getting me under the mandatory minimum. Still was 0 to life, but under the mandatory minimum with no cooperation. Um, Once I got that, since the judge felt like, well, he ain't doing nothing to help us, whatever, he gave me 15. No record now. No record. You know what I'm saying? Got 15 years. Um, Ended up when I got my time, I was real bitter in the beginning. You know, so I'm running around in prison, getting in fights, stabbings, all type of stuff until an older dude sat me down. It was like, yo, man, chill out. Like you know that this 15 years you got can turn into a life sentence very quick.
Mm.
So it's like I met a lot of good dudes, man, in those so-called bad places that kind of guided me and let me know, hey, things can be worse. And I think that if we had more leaders or more people like us reaching back to the youth in the community, to these lost ones, and then they get them into trades. Like I try to tell a lot of these dudes, if you don't know what you want to do, get a trade. Electrician, HVAC, learn it, get your license, and you'll be getting that money. Get these contracts with these HBCUs who looking for blacks to get them contracts, and let's get this money.
Hey yo, let me ask you this though. I don't mean to cut you off, but let me ask you this. Everybody that's on here right now, right? And that's including you, Corey, because you know you the honcho, you the head of the daggone, you know what I mean, the operation.
That's
So
good, brother.
I mean, what y'all think about this right here? Because I'm a clothing designer. You know what I mean? It ain't even about that aspect. It's just about, it's about a movement that I possess, and that's just what it is with me. But what do y'all think about this? And it's just an idea. Everybody out here got a story. Everybody out here got a motive. Everybody out here got their own motivation. But you know, I got a motto that I always speak to myself and I speak to people. You know, what about us starting a movement of you got to go through something to get somewhere? You understand? Because everybody done been through something
You know?
to get where we at right now.
Mhm.
So that's a movement within itself. You got to go through something to get somewhere.
Absolutely. That's what this is. That
Yeah,
actually what this podcast
you
is.
feel
This
me?
is this is an initiation
Yeah,
to kind of pull the people together to have these type of conversations, to put things together in the background so that we can present it to the people and pretty much position ourselves to do it and show the results. So absolutely.
we should
Absolutely.
promote. We should promote that. That's what we should do. We should all get together and we should promote that. You know what I mean? And that's just simple. You got to go through